Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the lovely Bree Tucker, who's doing a little jig.
Hello, buddy. How are you? Yeah, I'm trying to imagine my legs going in the little like river dancey type thing. That's what I'm kind of going for.
I just think of it like, I'm a tiny little leprechaun. Oh, a leprechaun wouldn't say it that way. I'm a leprechaun. I have no idea. I don't know where that voice came from. Who knows?
A leprechaun lately, but I am sure that is what one would sound like.
Top of the morning to you.
I
don't know. I don't know.
This has been a morning. It has been a morning.
It has been a morning. We are going to talk about the mental load today because this is something that is going all over social media. And if you feel completely burnt out and like the next thing that's asked of you is going to make you scream, oh my gosh, we're going to point out today 6 invisible tasks that you are doing that may be contributing to that mental load and that feeling that you just have had enough. And something that you're going to hear us talk about a lot, first of all, body budget. This is a term taken from Mona Delahooke's book, Brain Body Parenting. It was so good, where you basically think of you have a limit each day of all of the sensory input that your body can handle. Like the being touched out, that's a real thing.
Yep.
The noises, it's a real thing. The asking repetitively to do something.
Yep.
That contributes to your body budget and your overload. So when you have all of these invisible tasks we're going to talk about, just think of that tank being filled higher and higher and higher, not in a good way, but in a danger of overflow way. And when we talk about body budget and your body budget being at its max, that's what we're referring to right there and how the mental load contributes to that. In this episode, we're going to talk about, Bree, what the mental load is and why it's so heavy for moms. We're going to talk about these 6 invisible activities you're doing and not giving yourself credit for, and the tasks that you are doing so well, but it's pushing you to the brink of your limits. So let's get on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast.
Okay, can we talk about, so this episode got spurred because Christina, one of our team members, sent us an Instagram about a mom explaining why her husband picking up or dropping off the kids at camp wasn't really helping out with her mental load the way that he felt like it was. Because there's so much more involved in it. That's like a task. That's not anywhere near handling the mental load. And it just got us going, talking about that, about the misunderstanding about mental load, why we have mental load, why it's so hard to get rid of it. And it brought on its own little beast. And we're like, this needs to be a podcast episode.
Because there's so much that contributes to thinking that we have to take on all these tasks.
Yeah.
Number one, society tells us it's our job.
Yeah, because we're the lady. We're the mom.
And we see it reinforced in advertisements. We see it reinforced in TV shows and movies. And when you see that message so often, you're like, oh, that's what women do. They take care of these things and they're proficient in these things.
Right. And this is like our fourth attempt at this episode because of technical issues. So one of the things you brought up, though, and another one that was one of our ones that isn't airing right now, but the perceived helplessness of the spouses. That's something that I feel like I see a lot in media, like in shows and movies. Oh, the bumbling husband, the dad, I don't know any better. And the mom's like,
oh yeah.
What they can handle all this. And it's like, we're perpetuating to these stereotypes that aren't true. That's insult to the male or the partner.
My husband gets insulted by that all the time. He hates that stereotype. He hates it.
Because it's implying that he's not smart enough to do it all.
Yeah. And then he gets mad at all the men who feed into it because then they have this thing where Christina on our team mentioned this. Men will do a task purposely wrong so that they don't have to do it anymore. And we're not saying all men, we're saying some play into it. Also, men are not bumbling idiots when it comes to housework and family and children. They are just as capable as we are, but it hasn't been reinforced to them that it's their job. So they really don't have as much experience in it as we do.
Exactly. And it's not just, I mean, we could do a whole new episode about how there are those stereotypical tasks that we do that society reinforces based on our gender, like males do the outside yard work and females do the inside homekeeper work. So we're not even going to get into all that, but to assume that the other partner is not intellectually capable of doing something is really feeding into this. So yes, society tells us it's our job to handle it all. And then the whole be grateful. You have to be grateful. That's the other one. Yeah, for what you have, especially with the stay-at-home or work-at-home moms.
And if you're unhappy right now, it's because you're not grateful enough for what you have. That is so insidious.
#blessed. Sorry, I hope it's not offending anybody, but I just feel like that is doing nothing more than saying that your feelings are not valid. You should be happy that somebody is paying for you to stay home. And 90% of the time, that is not how that equation is working.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is not like this paid vacation that you get because you're at home.
Well, another thing to bring up is where's your worth? Because many stay-at-home moms feel that their worth is in keeping up the house and raising kids. And if they're not doing it, then they're not doing their job. And then why are they even contributing here? Are they really a contributing member of the household if they're not doing all the things?
Oh, and we're going to tell you, you're doing all the things.
You're doing all the things. And the fallacy there is thinking that you have this 24/7 job that you're responsible for. Well, your partner only has to go to work and then come home and be taken care of. When are you getting taken care of? When are you getting to sit down and enjoy everything that you have worked so damn hard for? It doesn't come unless we really reassess how we're doing these tasks, what we're doing, and having these hard conversations about how to bring more gender equity into the home and off of our plate.
And that brings up a really good point. The hard conversations. A lot of times too, you might realize, or you might have that voice in your head that's telling you like, gosh, I'm really doing a lot. I can't go away for that girls' weekend I got invited to because there's no way that my partner could take care of everything. And that's not even doing the learned helplessness. You're just like, I do so much. There's no way they could take it on. Then you're afraid to have that conversation because you're afraid of what your spouse or your partner is going to say back. And that fear is real.
I see that a lot. It's not in my relationship because my husband and I do have these hard conversations a lot. And I have this thing where you can look at my face and you can tell what I'm feeling at any instant, at any time, unless I really try to conceal it. So I can't get away with not showing that I'm, unhappy. He can tell right away. But I see other women do this. And we have, Margarita Mondays, and I have a neighbor who was going on a cruise and she canceled at the last minute because she had so much to do. And it was only an hour of her time that she could have come. Or I see people I go on work conferences with and they're calling home and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my husband did this. I left him this list of all of these things to do and he didn't follow it step by step. And that is not delegating. That is still taking complete control over every task. And so for this to change, we really need to start having those conversations about what we do, what we're putting other people in control of, and how we're going to react when they inevitably fail.
Because guess what? People make mistakes, people fail. And none of us are perfect. All of us will have issues. And there's also that mindset that so many of us have too. Of they're just going to screw it up. So I might as well just do it myself.
Yes. So let's talk about these tasks that you're doing right now that is probably getting you to the brink of burnout if you're not burnt out already, because these tasks really contribute to the mental load. So the first one is being your kid's counselor on all things relationships. I have this weigh on me a lot. I am the one my kids come to whenever they have an issue, so much so that I feel like their whole life is issues and relationship drama and stuff that happened at school and things that we talk through. Whether my daughter walks by a group of girls and they start whispering and she becomes self-conscious, or like somebody makes fun of my son's jacket and then he doesn't want to wear that jacket to school anymore. It really adds to things, really adds to things.
I think that one is one that people don't give themselves credit for, like you just said, because you kind of feel like you're supporting your kids. Not you kind of feel like you do. You feel like, okay, I'm helping guide them in this direction. But like you just said, the important fact there is that it directly impacts you. You feel it. You take it on, and your heart breaks along with your child's heart breaking. And I think that's what makes that one so heavy.
And also, if you hear your child being the mean kid and you're here counseling them and teaching them what is kind behavior, how they can include everybody, that is hard work as well. Teaching your kids those values to succeed and be a good person.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM.
We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Bree, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays, because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
And it's also a tricky line too for that one, because sometimes they really want your input and sometimes they don't. There's nothing worse than when, and I feel like I get this so much with teens, they'll start telling you about something and they'll be like, well, what do you think? And then you give them your input and they're like, well, you don't understand, Mom. You don't know what it's like. Never mind. Just forget I said anything.
My favorite line. You don't know what it's like to be a teenager in 2023, being that specific.
Yes. Yes, you got me there. I do not have the teenage status right now, but the things I don't admit to you that I did when I was your age,
But it takes its toll. It takes a mental toll when they push against you, against that advice as well. So that's the first invisible thing you're doing. Check yourself on that. And the second invisible task is actually really closely related to that. And it's managing your family's mood. I mean, do you do this?
Yeah. Oh, I think a lot of us do. I will tell you that I feel like my role in my family, and this is my parents and my sisters, my role had always been to make sure everybody was okay. Everybody got along because there was some oil and vinegar type relationships in my family growing up. And I always felt like it was my job to make sure everybody was happy. So I have carried that into my relationships as I get older. And my now husband, Miguel, he'll point that out all the time. He'll be like, I love you. I'll say something to him like, are you okay? You seem like you're upset today. And he'll be like, maybe. And then he'll look at me and he'll hug me and he'll be like, it's not your job to make sure I'm okay though.
That's sweet of him that he like lets you go on that one.
Right. But then in my head's immediately like, you're failing on your job, Brie. You're not taking care of everybody's like well-being at this moment.
Your Bob is coming in.
That's stupid Bob.
That's stupid Bob telling us what we need to do. And that hyper awareness of our family's emotions really adds to the mental load because there are things that you do to prepare so that the family's emotions don't get bad. Like you're the one who's thinking, oh my gosh, my kids need to eat as soon as they get home, else they'll be completely grumpy. That forethought is going in there as well before the situation even happens. Or the reason that moms always have snacks in their bags when their kids are younger. Because they know a temper tantrum in the middle of the zoo parking lot is not fun.
Exactly. Or like, let's even take like when you go on vacations, right? Or a trip. Who most of the time has the agenda figured out? It's Bob. A lot of times we're the one that works on the agenda of like where we're going to be, what we're going to do. Or and like you just said, did we make enough stops to go to the bathroom? Oh, we're going to need to do this after this time. And then we're going to need to go do this. Oh, and if you're doing something like even visiting family. Oh, and your mom's going to want to do this. So then I'm going to have to plan this.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's funny because when I go on vacation, like we just went on vacation in June, and I really tried to stay out of planning. We really tried to keep it loose during the day. We do like one planned thing a day and then kind of let the rest fall into place where it landed. And that worked for us. But I think it only worked for us because our kids are older. Where if they were younger, I would have had to plan rest breaks. We would have definitely need to have snacks. And now we're at the point with them being 10 and 14 that if they're hungry, we're like, well, we're in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah. And I would also be like, and you have a mouth. You can tell me when you're hungry. You can be thoughtful of that.
Exactly. But I think some of this also goes into the invisible task number 3 that you're probably doing as well. And that's when you have these family trips and when you do these big purchases, they don't happen just on a whim. There's all this research that you're doing beforehand. And you're juggling that with all your other tasks on your plate. Your brain is always on.
Researching all kinds of stuff. Like I remember when my kids started elementary school, I was the one who was, again, so it's a little different. When I grew up in the Midwest, you go to the school that you're in, that area, that's it. There's no whatever. But where we live in Phoenix, open enrollment is a huge thing. And like you throw a rock, you hit 4 charter schools. So anyway, when my kids were going into school, I took on the whole mental load of where they were going to go. I had a binder, Joanne, of all the different schools. What were the pros? What were the cons? Whether or not they had all-day kindergarten, whether or not they had after-school care, how much that would cost, how long did the school go to, what were the hours, what was their school schedule, so much stuff. And that was just researching for them to go to kindergarten, for God's sake. It was exhausting. I was a mess.
I would be a mess too. That does sound like a lot of work.
But that's just like one example, right? Like you said, family trips and making big purchases, all that kind of stuff. Trying to figure out the budget and the schedules and when people can go and what's going to make everybody happy. That's the other one.
That's the hard one. What's going to make everybody happy? I've learned nothing. Nothing makes everybody happy, ever. Just from, past experience, especially your kids. You'll go somewhere and they'll be like, but my brother, he wanted to go here and we're going there. And so that's not fair that he gets to go where he wants to go and I don't get to go where I want to go. And then it's vice versa.
Oh, God. Fine. We're going to only go where I want to go. Nobody else gets to be happy.
We're going to a place that serves wine.
We're going to the spa. You will enjoy your robe and your pool.
No, I will enjoy my robe and my pool. You will sit in the lobby. And that's it. Wouldn't that be grand? That'd be great.
Can you imagine how much complaining you would hear about spa water too? Like, oh, this water has cucumbers.
It tastes weird. What is this?
Okay.
Probably every little thing is a complaint. It's so hard. Which brings us to our next one with menu planning and kids and food preferences and the things like, I think I'm just giving you a bigger headache, Brie, by even mentioning this.
My head hurts just thinking it. Yes, because menu planning is like in our household. It is even, sometimes I get out of some of these points that you bring up because I have teenagers. And I feel like teenagers, while they are toddlers with better vocabularies, they do understand some things, right? And you have a little bit less conflict. But the menu planning in our house is a real freaking headache. And I'm the only one that takes it on. And my husband keeps pointing out that I don't need to. And I keep ignoring him. I'm not sure why. I'm like, I can't think of a good reason why. Because my only answer back would be like, well, if I don't do it, nobody else will. And it would just stare at me and be like, and the bad side is what? People will learn.
I am the one doing the menu planning in my house, but I also like to be in control of what I eat. And we have it split up so that my husband goes grocery shopping and I menu plan. But it's not a hard thing. The way my husband goes grocery shopping, I don't know how the man does it, but you can tell him ingredients that you need. And he remembers it. He doesn't need a list usually. He'll remember, like you tell him 5 things, he'll remember those 5 things. He'll bring you those 5 things back. As long as he's in the frame of mind to do that, which typically he is.
Aw, can you teach Miguel that? I'm talking to him and texting at the same time because he'll walk away and be like, what did you just say? I'm like, don't worry, I texted it to you.
Well, I mean, right now, though, he started a new position recently and his brain is not where it usually typically is. And so this past week, I was like, hey, did you get this at the store? And he'll reply, I'm a dummy. I'm like, you're not a dummy. I was just asking. But menu planning is something that I look at my board and I'm like, what are we going to have? Well, we're going to have this meal I know how to cook, which is easy, this meal. And then I look at my family and I'm like, I'm at a loss. What do you guys want to eat? And Eric will be like, hamburgers. I'm like, done. Hamburgers. What else? Pizza. No. And I say no because I'm lactose intolerant and it's horrible for me. It's just horrible for me. It makes me feel so gross.
You're like, I suffer so bad with that meal.
And everyone else has to suffer as well. Because with lactose intolerance, we'll know what I'm talking about. But menu planning is this constant thing because everybody needs to eat all the time. And so you're monitoring, okay, do they like this meal? Do they not like this meal? Should I put this on the list to make my life easier because I already know how to make this so I can make it again? It's so time consuming and brain consuming that you may not realize right now. And I hope this brings to light how much it consumes your brain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not even going to get into this stuff in our house. It's ridiculous things I take on. I should not. So so menu planning is number 4. What is number 5?
Emotional labor. And this is a little different than the mental load. The mental load is keeping track of all those things you have to do in your head. And the mental load also, when we talked about our family's emotions before, it was like pre-planning to make sure that kids don't get cranky when they're hungry. But the other emotional labor is managing your own damn emotions when everyone else is freaking out around you.
Yes. And again, I think it's a very good example actually of a mental load, because when you're talking about mental load, it's like the things that you're doing, the things that somebody is doing that is invisible. And that is a huge one, because I can guarantee you in most cases, one parent, like you just said earlier, is the default parent, right? The one who takes on so much. And the other parent doesn't have to take that on, so they don't have to worry about everybody else's emotions.
No.
And they're the one that, if there is a temper tantrum, they actually could extract themselves from the situation and leave the room, and the kid wouldn't even notice. But they would notice the default parent left.
Oh my gosh, the kid hunts the default parent down. So much so. My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
Hey, Aubrey here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
Oh my gosh. My favorite question, recently is actually, it's not a question, it's a command. It's like, go ask dad. Go ask dad. I'm here working on the computer and my son comes up and he's like, what's for dinner tonight? And I know my husband is just relaxing in the house. And I'm like, go ask dad. And I just keep working.
I'm gonna make you a little sign, a little Looney Tunes sign that you can hold up like the coyote and just be like, go ask dad.
Yeah, because I know I've been the problem solver. I've been the problem solver all their lives. And he needs some practice in that. And the kids need to see him as the problem solver as well. So I'm just redirecting their attention with that. So if anyone needs that, go ask dad. Just say that, the go ask dad. It works really, really well.
Yeah, because you deserve to also have that break once in a while. You do not need to be doing it 24/7. You did not become mom because your partner was like, oh, this person will take care of all the needs of our family at all times.
Yeah.
No, I can guarantee you that was not a wedding vow, nor was that a thought in their head.
Another phrase I keep in my head is, what would my husband do? And so I'm reading on the couch, completely relaxed, when my kids come up and ask me for something. And my mom response is to, oh, I'm just relaxing. I'm not doing anything right now. Let me put away my book. Let me go help them.
Right.
What would my husband do? My husband would be like, yeah, I'm resting for a bit. I'll help you in a moment or help you in 20 minutes. And so that's what I do. I'm like, no, I'm resting right now. You can go handle that.
And let me fight those yeah buts, because I can guarantee you there's a few of you listening going, yeah, but I want to teach my kids to be kind to others and to do nice things for other people. Okay, there is a difference between doing kind things for others and having healthy emotional boundaries. And that is something that society has lied to us about as women.
Yes.
They have taught us that we are supposed to be quiet and nice and be accommodating for everybody. And that's showing that you're being kind and caring for others, but to the detriment of your own, well-being. And that's not okay.
Yeah. I could give a good example of that. So
yes, do.
My daughter was a little overwhelmed on Saturday because she just had a lot of work to do and she was behind and it was schoolwork. So she asked me if I could help her put her sheets in the laundry. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Because we were just leaving the house to go to get our nails done, which was very fun. So I took her sheets, I put it in the laundry for her. I started the washing machine and I'm like, oh, yep, it's all done for you. And she says, thank you. And we go to the car. Well, fast forward to 10:30 that night where I'm laying face down in bed, completely asleep in a dark room. My daughter comes in, Mom, I forgot about my sheets. They're still in the washer. And I'm like, I'm not getting up. And she's like, well, what do I do? I'm like, you have two choices. You could sleep in the guest room or you could sleep on a bed without sheets. And she's like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I'm like, well, I'm asleep. And that was the boundary that I'm like, you know what? If I got up right now, I would be stomping through the house and slamming doors because I would be so pissed off that I had to get up out of my bed and help with this situation. So instead of being pissed off, I'm just going to lay here instead because that's going to be a better situation overall.
Well, and you know what else? I always like to point out the joys of what my college roommates had to deal with. Shout out to Glinda. Thank you so much, Glinda Waymeyer, for taking care of me. You just gave her life skills because when she goes away and she's not living with you and she's living with other roommates and people, she's going to have to figure that out because I can guarantee you she's going to forget to do her laundry or move the laundry over at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And her roommate is not going to appreciate her waking her up and going through this problem solving. She's going to have to do the problem solving on her own.
Yep, exactly. So, and what she ended up doing, she stayed up later. She put her sheets in the dryer and she made the bed herself.
I was just thinking to myself, honestly, out of those choices, that's what I would have done too.
Really?
I would have been like, I can handle this a little bit longer. If it was me, if I had forgotten to put my sheets over.
Yeah.
But you know me, I'm Brie, don't move my sheets, Brie. I don't like sleeping in other beds. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, it's weird to sleep on a bed with no sheets, so I got to stay up.
Our last invisible task is about coordinating all of those school activities and emails and due dates and crazy days.
Because that's what's happening. Yep. If you're listening to this as it drops, man, school is beginning. And all of a sudden, somehow you have become the school coordinator. How did that happen?
I don't take that on. I don't do that at all. I make my kids responsible for it, and they've been responsible for it for a long time. So like if there's crazy days, like if they don't have a crazy day outfit, that's on them. It doesn't affect me. But I think that's from being a teacher and seeing how it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I think that's fantastic. And I think more of us need to be told that our kids can do it. Now, listen, we're not saying your kindergartner is going to be able to write on the calendar crazy day clothing, but you can have these conversations with your kids so that they are more able to take them on.
And here's the other thing. It's also a privilege thing because I was a teacher in a Title I school where we had 97% of the kids on free and reduced lunch. And we didn't have this craziness. We didn't have all these crazy days because our families, they had so much on them already. We couldn't put that on them. And we helped the families. And we didn't put the pressure on the parents to come in. We found a way to do it ourselves as a school staff. So when I am in these school districts that my kids go to and I see all of this craziness and see these PTO parents walking around looking like, oh, like, why don't you help more? Why don't you do this? I'm like, this is stupid. Why are we in this right now? And so that is my own mental process that goes through it just from working in a different environment than where I live. But it truly doesn't matter because the biggest thing that matters is your kids' happiness in school and that they're learning. And when you talk about crazy days and due dates that you have to keep track of and not your kids, they're not learning. They're not learning anything.
No, not only are they not learning, but one thing that we see a lot in our balanced coaching program too are moms that are like, okay, I want my kids to become more self-sufficient. I want them to be able to take on more. Okay, guess what? They got to start somewhere. And the more that they practice it, the more that they do it, the more they're going to have evidence in their own memory of, oh, I was able to handle scheduling this before. So maybe having your second grader take on scheduling the entire science project, you're not ready for that yet because normally you've been the one that's been scheduling everything. But doing something as simple as making sure that they're in charge of, like you just said, coordinating the school activities, being responsible for what they have going on. Then when something bigger comes up, you can point out to them, yeah, but look how good of a job you did remembering when you needed to do this, X, Y, and Z. And there are so many tools available.
And also, can I say, coordinating the school science project, that should not be on parents. Parents, please push back against the school and the classroom for that, because that should be handled by the teacher in terms of huge projects for the correct developmental level of the child. It was something that I taught my students how to do. We worked through due dates in class to make sure they were on top of things themselves. That should not be put on you at all, just as an aside, in my opinion of it.
Yeah. So giving your kids the opportunity to do these things, to be responsible for, they are going to feel pride and they're going to succeed. They will succeed. Are there going to be fumbles? Yes, because nobody is perfect. We all have mishaps that happen. But the more they take on these things, the better they're going to be able to do, the stronger they're going to build these life skills. And then again, I'm going to roll back to like when they leave your home, they fly away from your nest. They're going to be able to do these things. And guess what? You also won't be bald from pulling your hair out from stress because of the mental load you were carrying all the time.
Yeah, think of what a happier person you can be. Like reframe it, because a lot of things that I am setting boundaries for now is I am able to step back and take myself through two scenarios. And this is something that we work on in balance, by the way, where it doesn't come right away. You can't take this in the moment unless you first practice looking back to see what caused your reaction. But now I'm at the point where I can stop myself in the moment. And like I said with the sheets, if I had help with the sheets, I would have been yelling, I would have been stomping, I would have been slamming doors. And I prevented that by just saying no to it and laying down in bed.
And she figured it out.
So please give yourself a lot of compassion. If you're not realizing these boundaries that you could be setting yet with your time, that comes in time. That is not on you. And we have something to help you out with that too. We have a free stop doing checklist for you that talks about a lot of the things in this episode. And you can have it in a handy dandy checklist that you just not doing that anymore. So that's a fun thing. And you can get that in our show notes.
So I really hope that you are giving yourself some compassion after this episode. That mental load, it is there. It is real. We see you. You're doing it. But there are ways to cut it and to trim it down and make it a lot less and share that load with your parenting partner and with others in your household.
Yes. So remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday, who was pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.